Hello all you YouTube chess lovers out there. We're going to be looking at the Samisch and the King's Indian today. And this is the opening that gave Bobby Fischer a lot of trouble as a world champion. I believe he lost 5 games in a world championship match to the Samisch. And it is a positional type opening that is very sort of Petrosian, Karpovian, players that like to squeeze. It's very sort of reminiscent of Boris Gelfan's play and many other Russian GMs that like to squeeze you, just squeeze you down with a better position. So they're not as tactical in that sense. So that doesn't mean there aren't a lot of tactics in the game. So let's get started and d4, queen's pawn opening, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, bishop g7, e4, d6, f3. And we're looking at the standard Samisch. We're not going to be looking at the the 4 pawns attack, which is an entirely different animal within the Samisch. I don't have time to cover that today, hopefully in a future video. Castles. Bishop g5 is a unique try that I'm bringing to the table here in this video. I know it's a little wonky looking, but you'll see later there's a certain amount of poison to it. And it is loosely based on an actual Fischer game, so that's another added bonus. Okay, black played c5. White plays d5, getting that typical locked center in the King's Indian. a6, bishop d3, knight bd7, knight g2, h6, kicking the bishop. And here I decided that taking was best, even though it's a little wonky. We'll see why later. That was a critical move, I believe. So a4, queen a5, f4, knight b6, castles, bishop d7, queen c2, rook a8, h3, h5, queen c1, and I'll ask you guys here, what do you think one of White's main plans is here in the short-term future? Okay, I'll simplify it. We know potential breaks for the pawns could come on e5 or even f5. There's ideas of the white knight on e2 coming to f4. There's certainly ideas of the queen getting to that tender h6 square. So we'll see how that pans out. Black played a subtle inaccuracy here. It's still a good strong move, but it's a little bit of an inaccuracy to go bishop e8 here. We'll come back later and look at what the better move in the position was for black. But he played a very reasonable move here for sure. And then from here, I found e5. Well, I and Komodo found e5. Black takes, pawn pushes to f5. I will briefly take you through a ridiculous looking response if black was to take here with the pawn. And believe it or not, that's fairly typical in certain positions to open the king up like that, if you believe you have enough defensive pieces to come into the mix. And rook would take, bishop would drop back, rook over, trades, check, queen up, rook over, knight up to g3, knight up to h5, knight up to e8, queen takes e7, bishop takes e6, queen exchanges an e6 check, king h7, rook f1, trades, queen d8, queen f7, c4, knight e4, king h6, d6, bishop f6, d6, bishop h4, g4, bishop e7, knight d6, bishop f6, d takes e8, queen, king g8, queen takes, bishop takes queen, knight f5, bishop c7, and queen g7, checkmate. So let's back up and also another funny line here would be if king went to h8. Looks marginally playable. It's a massive blunder. And what is the move now? Of course, queen h6, f crosses g, bishop crosses g6, threatening bishop on e8. Bishops are traded with check. Again, these knights are coming into the mix with lethality and immediacy. Bye-bye black queen, check, takes, check, over with tempo. And now there's obviously a variety of checks. There's this, there's that, etc., etc. We don't need to go into okay, anyway, so back to okay, then black played this. Excuse me, rather, yeah, pushed e4, knight crosses e4, bishop takes, wait, excuse me, we already looked at that. Here, if queen takes, that's a really bad way to take, because now bishop's gone on f6. Okay, you're thinking big deal, queen takes. The king is going to be exposed. Queen to e3. Rook takes. Queen takes. See the tender c5 square. Queen h6. Rook f1. Bishop d7. Knight f4. Queen g7, knight takes g6, rook f6, knight exchanges e7, king h8, rook takes f6, queen takes f6, d6, king g7, bishop e4, king f8, queen f2, king g7, queen g3 with check, bishop g4, knight f5, check, king g8, h crosses g, h4, bishop d5, check, king h7, queen e3, queen a1, check, queen h2, queen f6, d7, queen takes f5, g takes f5. And the rest is just for show. So that's mate in 45. And if we had backed up to move 35, instead of queen g3 check, I found the very brutish but effective immediate queens are traded. c5, c6, bishop takes c6, and there's two ways this can go. This can go like this. Okay, like something like that. Or if king had taken the bishop, then it's something like this. And mate in 52 there. So let's see what else. going back to move 17, where we're in this position. And here, let's see, which one was it? Oops, I somehow missed the continue. Trying to find out which one is that. Let's see. Ah, yeah, we can look at this one. This is a reasonable move. King comes to g7 here, maintaining contact with the very tender g6 square, and the bishop as well. So knight e4 in this line, queen b4, f crosses g, f takes g, b3. Here, guys, what do you think Black's queen should do? Just chill out for a couple of moves. Can it take b3? b3 right now is the ultimate real poisoned pawn. A lot of poisoned pawns are just poisoned in theoretical positional concept. They're not literally poisoned. This one literally is. Here's what happens. Queen takes b3. Knight takes c5. And the queen is lost. Best she can do is grab that bishop and booyah. And white has a huge, nearly 4-point advantage from here on out, and should just be a cakewalk. Okay, so backing up, knight c8 was the sensible and only really good move in this position. g4, bishop d7, g5, bishop f5, queen e3, centralizing and preparing, and also protecting rather, g5. Knight down to d6. Knight 2 to g3. Bishop takes e4. G takes f6 with check. Pawn takes back. Knight exchanges on e4. Knight f5. And here I wanted to show a couple of ways this could go. Let's see. First, this is a very, very important sack. The only great move now in this position is, boom, rook takes f5. G takes f. And if you had played this here, guys, this easy looking, natural feeling g3 check, guess what? You just lost the win. You didn't lose the game, but you lost the win. This is instantly drawing. There's no coming back. Barring just really, really bad blunder level poor play by black, this instantly draws. So if you ever get into this position, do not play the tasty looking g3. It is fool's gold. Okay, so going back, the move in the position was g3. You got to be a little bit more patient in these endgames. f4 looks dangerous, forking the queen and the knight, but this is also fool's gold for black. Oops. Come on, guy. The coach is giving me an alert. The queen scotias up to e4. Can black take the knight? Well, let's see. Let's see what would happen. Nope, that's mate in one. So black cannot take the knight there. So he plays the sensible rook f7. Queen now gets to the very, very sensitive h7 square with check. Queen h8 check. King e7. d6 with check. The only really good move in this position. Rook exchanges on d6, knight f5 check, king d7, knight takes d6, king takes d6, queen b8 check, king e6, queen c8. Here I believe also queen e8 was a very sensible, strong move as well, but I crunched these numbers a long time, and the engine finally decided that queen c8 was ever so slightly better. We're splitting atoms. Rook d7, bishop f5 check. And that's an important resource here, because otherwise there's going to be long-term struggles if you play something less inaccurate. So you're trading the bishop for the rook, of course, with tempo. And this is an important move. This quiet f2 strengthens the rook for coming to e1 and prohibits goofy queen check ideas by black. And the queen is just taken off the board, and the rest is just a pedestrian, typical sort of queen versus nobody ending. And we'll just show this mate. Okay, that's mate in 53. Let's see. What else? Ah yes, this is another interesting position. If we go back to move 9, you remember when I had the wonky looking bishop on g5, and of course I played that, and it went into this type of thing. Here, this is an alternate version. Yes, this is exactly where I wanted to talk about earlier. Instead of black bishop coming to e8, which is a subtle inaccuracy. It's not a bad move by any means, it's just a slight inaccuracy by black. The much more powerful continue was h4 by black. And here, this is a very strong aggressive continuation by white. e5, immediately busting open the center, obviously threatening the bishop. Bishop backs up to g7, a very sensible move. e6, again now threatening the bishop on d7. Black is forced to take. And here, this was a key moment. What would you guys play here? Would you play d crosses e? Would you play a knight move, a queen move, a rook lift? Strongest move here, guys, is bishop takes g6. E crosses d, f5, rook f6, queen g5, and black is in dire poo-poo. King over, queen takes h4. That was easily the best move in the position, and I crunched those numbers for a long time. Knight takes c4. Once again, there's that powerful white knight coming to f4. God, I love knights in close positions. Knight e5. And here, guys, okay, first I'll play what the computer found on its own, and I let it gestate on every position. And then I'll come back and show you the line that I actually found on my own, well, also using the computer, but it's something the computer didn't recommend at all, and it turned out to be phenomenal. And it was a line that I can actually relate to a lot better, if that makes sense. But we'll first find what the almighty Komodo, okay, just kidding, not almighty, but the very powerful Komodo found the very accurate queen h7, bishop c8, knight takes cd5, queen d2, rook ad1, knight comes down, pawn takes, queen has to back up to b2, knight grabs e7, rook takes g6 with check, knight takes, king e8, rook fe1 check, king d7, knight e5 check, queen takes, rook takes, king c6, queen takes g7, king b6, rook e7, king a5, queen c3 check, queen b6, rook b1 check, king a7, queen g7, rook d7, rook takes d7, king a8, queen g8, king a7, queen takes c8, c4, and finally, you could end that however you want, whatever looks good. So that's a great way to go, and that's mate in 41 with that line. And again, that's having played 3100 ELO chess, and it just goes to show that they do not understand certain nuances in the position. I keep saying this, and I want you guys to take it to heart. They do not know everything about chess. Say it with me. They do not know everything there is to know about chess. And again, instead of the slightly inaccurate bishop e8, we went into this line. And we get all the way here. And instead of Komodo's initial reaction of queen h7, which is phenomenal, undoubtedly, and if you found that fantastic, I played here what looked natural to me, and very, very forcing and powerful. I'm sure a lot of you IMs and FMs and GMs can see it out there, and correspondence players. It is the knight e6 check, extremely forcing. If black plays a goober move here, like something really bad, let's just make a pretend move. Oh, excuse me, that's if black king goes here, for example, well, it's mate in 1. What else? If black, oh yeah, can't do that. Yeah, that's the only solution there. So black is forced to take, very, very obliged, obviously, to take, and then there's this continuation. Pawn takes e6. Notice the rook cannot recapture because of the pin. Black plays the fairly ridiculous and innocuous c4. Rook takes, pawn takes, queen up to h7, knight c6, and here, yeah, rook f1. I played actually rook f1 here without even looking at the Komodo, but that to me was just the killer move. Queen up to b6, king over with a quiet move I'm not sure I would have found on my own. Queen comes down to d4, knight takes d5, striking the pawn in f6, rook down. And instead here, although I'm sure it's still winning, you could just grab the rook, obviously, and still have an easily winning endgame, without a shadow of a doubt. In fact, as I'm looking at this, let's see, yeah, it's however you want it here. Either one of these guys is just crushing, so... In this variation, knight takes f6, queen's gone, rook's gone, bishop's gone, knight's gone, and that's mate in 42. Again, guys, this is mate in 42 in the Samisch against a 3100 ELO monster machine. And I believe you me, I let the machine gestate on every single response by black. Granted, maybe not quite as long as I did for white, but I gave it its fair handshake for sure. And if we come back, let's see, where was it? Yeah, I wanted to look at this variation. Had E cross D taking the rook. Let's see how that would play out. Beautiful move there, threatening the knight. Gorgeous how the queen drops back, looking to strike on e8 with guaranteed mate. Check. Only one square to go to there, obviously. Gobble. Queen over. Bishop takes. Again, now threatening mate on c6. Well, not quite mate, but very nearly. And finally, and that would be mate in 45. He's still a very, very good line in this version of the this line of the Samisch. Okay, so I don't want to confuse you guys too much. I apologize if I've done that. Let's go back and look at the game all the way through. Oops, let me get that glitch off the screen. Let me just click to something else and come back. There we go. Okay. And it went like this. And h3 was necessary there because it allows ideas in the future of g4 and things like that. Threatening the center. Beautiful pawn push. Queen invades. Not exactly sure what black is looking for there. I don't personally see it, but I'm sure the computer is well equipped to see it. And that's just a brutal, brutal attack in the Samisch. And that's mate in 41. And let's see, let's come back to yeah, I wanted to show, oops. Instead of this now, which is what it was played in the game, I wanted to see what h6 would lead into. I'm just gonna blitz through this. I don't want to get sidetracked on this line. And that was an important move there, that rook lift, stopping ideas of the queen taking c3 or other nonsense. Queen up to that h5. Takes. This is a slower, more positional type game, maybe a little more true to the Samisch in general at an elite level. Queen's looking for an exchange there because it's favorable. The white queen is, actually. Black is not compelled to exchange there. Hoping for chances. They're not going to come. just getting incrementally better with nearly every move is white. And that's a crafty move by black. It's a really good last-ditch effort. Unfortunately, it's not going to be enough. Queens come off, and I want to stop you guys here in this position, because this is a really good line. Does this look like an easy win for white? Or does it look like it could draw? Positionally, black is lost here. Rook f4. Knight takes c5, obviously clearing the c file for c5. More importantly, because since the rook can take there, the knight's going to a6. Back. And now a6. Bishop has to sack itself there, or endure the wrath of a new queen. Which is apparently is going to come anyway. And there we go. And obviously it's just a wipeout. And that's a much longer, more drawn out, probably more accurate to a lot of human grandmasters playing in the Samisch, or even robots for that matter. That's made in '69, but there's a lot of good ideas. What I like about the Samisch in general is that you get these delicious attacks on black's king side here, where you're just opening things up fairly quickly at some point, or threatening to at any rate. You know, this type of thing, where black is just not that good in these positions, in these structures. Let's see. Here, I wanted to see what would happen just on the flight if I played this rook b7. And I want to ask you guys, does that look like a good move? The rook is protected, is it not, by the knight? And the queen is pinned from taking the knight? Right? Look, oh, it looks good, right? It looks hunky-dory. I'm sure a lot of us have played moves in our games exactly like this. Oh, especially rapid and blitz, or bullet. Booyah, we just slap it down. You know, b7, ha ha ha, you're pinned, your queen's gone. No, it's not. Not in this position. This would be a nightmare blunder by white. And here's the continuation. Do you spot it? F crosses G, double check. Bishop blocks. And the queen is still on the board. And let's see here, king g8 was the money move. And guess what? We're all even. This is a draw. This is good, literally not a win or a loss for either side. You just threw away a massive, massive 4-point advantage with one bad move. So be prepared, guys, in positions like that. That was not the move. So moves like that look tempting as all get out, but in this case what was pertinent was to see that your king was on f2, where the f4 pawn will take with double check. So the money shot was e4, I mean the money move, excuse me, was e4. Now black played the same idea, a noble idea to be sure. Unfortunately it doesn't work in that position. Queens came off, and white prepared the advance of the A and D pawns, etc., etc. Black felt compelled to give the bishop up. And the problem here, of course, if black gets desperate and plays something like g3, well, you have check now, your rook is gone. Okay, h2 looks scary. That does allow a queen on board. Gonna be a few checks to deal with, which I don't personally like this approach, but okay, and that's the end of black's effort. Yeah, that's all she wrote. That would be made in 69. Okay, guys, one more time. I'm just gonna run through this. That's my key little weird novelty move or something. I don't know if it's a real novelty, but it's a wonky move that I like in this position. Takes. A4 was critical there. F4. Move an advancing center. Castles. And here, I'm sure you could have played out a brutish ending, like just something, you know, brutish and heavy-handed like that. Still very effective, obviously. And that would still be made in 43, so not a bad way to go. Alright guys, that's going to cover our coverage of the Samisch today. I hope I gave you a really strong, fresh attacking line with a very strong theoretical foundation in the Samisch. And good luck in your chess, and play the Samisch. Until next time, thanks, and see you next time on YouTube.